froggy face. No. Oh dear. Here. A little bit left. Yeah, froggy face. Hmm.
Can you say hi to everybody? Can you say hi to everybody? We're gonna go downstairs and talk.
I thought we were making popcorn.
Well, we're gonna clean up the kitchen, make popcorn, and then talk about buying our house.
Oh, we're in our house.
Yeah, we love our house.
We do.
We used to live in a tiny little 600 square foot, 2-bedroom apartment with neighbors below us. But now we have a house and it's quiet.
It's nice.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to go to sleep to the thumping of the bass of their music every night.
Or wake up at 3 a.m. to them playing music.
Loud. Yep. I don't know if we want to be eating popcorn while we're doing this.
Wow.
Because I look ugly when I eat.
You do not.
Oh, that's cute. You've got green yellow and I've got yellow green. Orange green, I guess, but looks kind of yellow.
Welcome back, guys. We've settled in with our popcorn and our LaCroix. So we're ready to tell you another story.
Once upon a time.
There was a couple named Nathan and Laura.
So, let's begin.
Let's try to keep it a little concise.
Okay. We got married in 2017, right after we graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And pre-graduation, we started looking for apartments. So we looked around, and my mom's friend's son, something like that, had just bought a house and was looking for someone to live in the apartment that they were currently living in.
Mm-hmm.
So we checked it out.
And after looking at it, I definitely didn't want to live there.
I didn't know any of this.
No. I don't know. It was just kind of crappy. Like, old carpet, all white walls.
It wasn't old
dirty.
carpet. It was actually fairly new carpet. It was just like ugly carpet, so it kind of felt old.
Ugly brown, like old motel carpet. And a tiny kitchen with crappy cabinets and a floor that was breaking apart, and a little like half-sized oven and stove.
That's true, the oven was tiny.
And the bathroom was like off the kitchen, and also the floor was breaking apart, and the sink was half falling off the wall. And the tub.
You're making it sound a lot worse than it was.
This is what I noticed the first time that we walked through it.
Okay.
Anyway.
But he didn't tell me any of this.
Yeah, I just said, I don't know, I think we should keep looking at places. But then we kept looking at places, and they were so expensive. So Laura was like, this was the first time in our relationship that I could tell Laura cared about something. Kind of.
I know what you mean.
So I was like, you know what? Like, it's really not a big deal to me. So, like, if you want to go with it, we'll just go with it. I'll just trust your judgment. And we went with it.
We ended up liking the apartment itself.
The first...
I think it was perfect for what we needed.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It was a house. The upper level of a house.
Right. It's the second floor of an old house.
Mm-hmm.
And it had an attic that we could access, but we never really used it.
I like how we're telling the story of us buying a house, and really the first 5 minutes is just us telling about our apartment.
No, that's all part of the story. So we lived in the apartment for
3 years.
3 years. In the first year, there was a guy living below us on the first floor who was nice, quiet. We never really talked to him. Saw him a
only
couple times.
actually for the first 6 months. He moved out in December.
Wow, okay. But then, after a year, a couple moved in below us. And they were fine too.
Oh, I forgot about them.
Yeah, Rochelle, and...
Yeah, they moved in. They only lived there for a year.
Right, so they moved in and lived there for a year. And they were fine too. No problems with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the neighbors moved in.
Can't say too many bad things about them. What if we get famous?
They were the worst.
It was the first weekend that they moved in. They moved in on like a Saturday. And I'm pretty sure it was like that night or the following night.
It was Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon. So they moved in on like a Saturday. And they're like loud and smoking cigarettes and like throwing cigarette butts in the yard. And then that next day, Sunday, they just blasted music for like 3 hours out the windows.
Whatever. They're moving in and they're getting settled.
Right.
It's fine.
One day.
Well, then the music stopped for like an hour or two, maybe. And then it was like 8 o'clock at night and it started up again. And it didn't stop. It was like 11 p.m., 11:30. We were like going to bed. We were like, I'm like, well, I can't fall asleep like this. And like the bass of the music was like thumping like the floor.
Right,
You
we were
could
in
feel
our bed with like the door closed and a fan on high, like trying to fall asleep, and the bed's like shaking.
So Nathan was like, okay, if it gets to be midnight and it's not off, I'll go down there.
Got to be midnight, and still wasn't off. So I like walk down and knock on their door. And this guy comes out, he's like, what? I'm like, we're trying to go to sleep. Do you mind turning the music down? He's like, it's not even loud. And then his girlfriend or whatever from the room's like, yeah, no problem, we'll turn it down. I was like, okay. So then I went upstairs and they might have turned it down a little bit.
Not noticeably.
But it was like another half an hour before it turned off. Anyway, I walked down there again. Well, they were loud one night, so I waited till the next day and I tried to like catch the girlfriend by herself.
She was super nice.
Yeah,
I
she was
liked
really
her.
nice. But I got him again. Yeah, and he was just like angry that I would even think about talking to them about being quiet. He's like, we live in an apartment. It's what you do. And I'm like, yeah, but you also need to share space and like care about your neighbors and make some sacrifices to live together in harmony. And he's like, no, that's not how this is going to work.
Okay. Bye.
Yeah, so that was the start of that. And basically, as soon as they moved in, we started looking for a house.
We're like, yeah, let's have a house. Let's get a house.
I can't deal with this.
Which we were kind of planning on looking at that time anyway, but that definitely made us like want to speed up the process.
So, all that in a nutshell. We got an apartment. We lived there for 3 years. 4 years?
3.5.
3.5 years. We had 3 different neighbors. 2 of them were fine. One of them, the last one, was horrible. Convinced us to buy a house immediately.
Yeah.
So we started somewhat frantically looking for a house to get out of this horrible situation. So we started looking at houses.
We looked online and find ones that we liked.
Mhm.
It's so funny. We would like at the beginning of the process be like, oh my gosh, this is so much money. Like, this is our budget. This is so much money. Our budget like increasingly got larger the longer we looked for a house. Because it had to. The market was crazy.
Yeah.
So like our first offer, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if we under offered or offered at asking price.
I was just over asking price on the first one.
And then obviously we didn't get it, and I think it sold for like $20,000 more than asking price or something like that. And we're all like, oh, okay, we gotta change our game plan.
So if you've ever met me in real life, you'll know that I make spreadsheets for everything. So this is the spreadsheet I made of every house that we offered on, or every house that we looked at, whether or not we offered, how much we offered, and then what it sold for after the fact.
I wanted to make a spreadsheet of my contractions when I was in labor.
Oh, yeah.
You
I would have, but it kind of, labor didn't go very scheduled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like, your contractions got shorter and shorter, and then you had the baby. It was like,
yeah, that's another story for another time.
We'll talk about that later. Okay, so just to sum up the spreadsheet, we put an offer in on 23 houses. No,
No.
we
looked
toured 23 houses.
that we could remember. We might have forgotten some.
It's possible, but I don't think so. We offered on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them.
Before this house or including this
including the house that we got. And then, yeah, we got the 7th one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But most of these houses were either sold for cash at list price or for a mortgage like $25,000 to $45,000 over asking.
Yeah.
We offered on the first 5, which we liked. They were all good, but didn't get any of them. And then number 6, we happened to just be walking down our street, right? Or was I? I think I found it online.
You might have found it online, yeah.
So I was looking at houses online, and I see this one pop up, and I'm like, Sherman. We live on Sherman. And I look at the address, and it's literally like half a block away from our apartment.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that would be awesome.
We loved where we lived.
Our neighborhood was amazing. You could walk to like ice cream shops and breakfast places and crepes and late night hot dogs and pizza and it was like brick roads and an old town feel and lots of people our age. It's a really, really cool little part of Grand Rapids. So we're like, oh, we could buy this house. We could live just down the street from where we are now. Like we wouldn't have to find new places to go and get groceries and all those kind of random little things.
Yeah.
So they had an open house that day. So we walked through this open house, and we looked at each other. We're like, this house is perfect.
It needed a lot of work, but like we both like the old style feel of it. I don't know what you call that type of house.
Yeah, it was Victorian era, maybe.
Kind of like Victorian. A little bit later than Victorian, maybe.
Yeah, all like oak hardwoods, stained
built-ins,
built-in cabinets on both sides of the fireplace and the living
dining room.
Dining room. Massive like open kitchen with tile floor. It had a front porch that was closed in. 3 bedrooms upstairs.
Yeah, it was super cool.
It was a really cool house. Uh-oh. Lyndon might need us. So we toured this house. It's amazing. We're in love with it. We're like, we have to buy this house. So we write a letter. We offer $25,000 over asking. We get it all submitted and stuff. And they don't accept our offer. I get a call from my realtor the next day or whenever. He's like, yeah, they accepted a cash offer. Like, sorry, guys. I'm like, it's all right. Keep looking. So then the next day, he calls me again on my way home from work. And he's like, so do you guys still want that Sherman house if it happens to be available? I'm like, yes. It's like, well, the cash offer fell through, so they want to accept your offer if it's still open. I'm like, yes, do it.
Nathan comes like bounding in the door after work.
And Laura's laying on the couch. So I come bounding in the house, and I'm like, Laura, guess what? We got the Sherman house. And she's like, no, you're kidding. No, you can't be kidding. You would never kid about that. Are you serious? You have to be serious. Like, we got it. Josh called me and he said the other offer backed out and they accepted our offer. We were so excited.
We were.
We still wanted to buy it after inspection. So we tried to set a closing date and didn't hear a whole lot from the seller. And then closing date was getting really close and we still hadn't heard anything from the seller. And then we found out that they need to get permission from their family to sell the house because it was an old couple and all their kids owned it in a trust with them. So we kind of talked about it for a long time and I talked to an attorney about it and all this stuff.
And we pushed back the closing date.
Pushed back the closing date by like an additional 30 days. So at this point, it had been
2 months.
2 months since our offer was accepted, and we
It
were
was
still
accepted
gonna.
in July.
Yeah, and if they signed at closing, it was still going to be 60 days before we could move in. So we were like, oh, this is taking forever, and eventually they're like, sorry, we can't get permission from one of our kids to sell this house.
Yeah,
So,
their daughter like lived in a different state, and she was just refusing to let them sell the house.
mm-hmm.
And they like drove. I think she lived in like North Carolina. They like drove down there. This is an old couple. They're in like their 70s.
Right.
Drove down there. And she wouldn't, so they had to back out. We found out the night before we were supposed to close.
Right. We had set a closing date with them. They're like, don't worry, we'll drive down there the weekend before. We'll get her signature. We'll be there on Monday morning. And then we get a call Sunday night saying, it's not happening. So I talked to a lawyer, and they said basically there's nothing you can do. Even if you sued them, the only thing you could get is some money back.
Yeah, like even if you sue them, we wouldn't get the house at all.
Right. There's no way to get the
in
house. So eventually we got that check back, closed out that deal, and had to start looking again from scratch.
At this point, I was like so sick of it. I was like, I don't even want to look. I think I stopped looking.
Yeah, Laura's like, I'm done. Let's just take a break. I'm like, okay, but I'm not going to take a break.
So he kept looking, which was good.
Yeah. So, yeah, a couple weeks went by, and then we were having lunch after church at our friend's house, and I think I was just looking at Zillow or something on my phone, and I was like, hey, there's a couple open houses this afternoon. You want to just drive around and check them out? So the two of us and our friend Eric went and started driving around to these different open houses. And the first one we went to was this house. And we walked through it, and it was owned by a small family that was upsizing. But it was such a cute little house.
Yeah, it is.
It's not even that little. It's like almost 1,600 square feet. But yeah. And now here we are. Maybe someday we'll give you a tour of our house or something.
Yeah.
But everything kind of went smooth on that one. It was listed at 170 or 170. It was listed at 175, and we're like, we like this house enough. We need to stop looking. So we offered 200 even on it. Our realtor called us the next day or a couple days later, and he says, so they got your offer, and they got one offer that's 2,000 more, but your offer has more incentives in it for them. So they're wondering, can you raise your offer by 2,000 and they'll accept it? I'm like, yes.
For 2,000,
we will do it. So
Yeah.
we ended up paying $27,000 over asking price for this house. And that's the kind of market we were in.
Mm-hmm.
But we got it. We had to wait, I think, 60 days still
Mm-hmm.
after that to move in. And then we finally got the keys. And finally, the end of our living with our neighbors was in sight.
Yeah.
And then we moved in as soon as we could. We didn't do like anything to the house. There was like projects. I'm like, it would be really nice to do this before we move in.
Yeah.
But let's just get in there.
And the house didn't need a whole lot.
No.
Like, we painted because we wanted different colors, but like the
Mhm.
paint was nice. Like, it wasn't bad. Nope. We have great neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe next week we'll give you a tour of the house and show you all the projects we did.
You gotta clean before then. Basement has spiders.
I think the spiders are abating.
Yeah. There was one crawling on this wall earlier, but I just left it.
All right. Bye.